Executive Committee, which sat on the 5th and 6th of March, and then the National Council, which sat on the 7th. So those are the three objectives of these guidelines: to operationalize grassroots leadership renewal, restructuring the leadership, and then to implement resolutions of the two party organs which met between the 5th and the 7th of March 2025. I want to focus on restructuring. Since 2020, the Democratic Party has faced challenges. You do recall that our national register was handed over to NUC by our former national organizing secretary, the Honorable Sulaiman Chigandara, who is now languishing in a prison in South Korea. They incited people here. They came to demonstrate singing Twagala Bobby Simao in our compound here. And they claim to be DPs. So I was wondering what sort of DPs are those? Unfortunately, as fate would have it, I'm now the one supposed to issue an instrument so that it can be transferred from South Korea and it comes here in my capacity as Minister of Justice. Ironically. So you can see that God can really play jokes. Somebody who you have attempted to demean. So registration of new members has been an uphill task because we are starting afresh. Secondly, our leadership structure was infiltrated by people with divided loyalties. So I gave my instructions to the Secretariat to ensure that we have a verification process. And I want to repeat those to the National Organizing Secretary that he now has a duty to do what is called branch inspection. In other words, to clean up our leadership structure in the party. Why do we need a cleanup? We need a cleanup because we want those who claim to be DP to be truly DP. That way, we shall be able to achieve those three objectives. These guidelines have been developed by the Office of the National Organizing Secretary. In some parties, they would call him the chief mobilizer of the party, working alongside the Secretariat headed by the National Secretary General. In our party, Secretary General is a very deliberate word. Secretary General means you can be a secretary for anything. That's why they call the Secretary General Secretary General. The only job he cannot do is that of being president. But he can be secretary for anything. That's why in DP, the Secretary General is deliberately referred to as Secretary General. So I wish to state three things. Who will participate in this exercise? The people who will participate in this exercise are members of DP in good standing. Some of you belong to churches. So for instance, if you belong to a church, when they say you are a member of the church in good standing means you are baptized according to the canons and the traditions of that church. So for us who are Catholics, to say you are in good standing, it means you have the sacraments that are relevant. Which means you must be a registered member on the national database. So I wish to start by warning those who claim to be having registers. There is only one register, and it is at the headquarters. And the custodian is the Secretary General. Because of some political disagreements, which are normal anyway, I see the media gets so excited whenever there are disagreements. We are politicians, and our job is to disagree, to debate, and to exchange words, some of them very sharp. That will happen until Jesus returns. So, because of that, you find a situation where a chairman from Maracha district, which is almost near the Sudan border, can deliver returns with thousands of registered members. But chairmen in our Kampala districts are yet to deliver their returns. Why? Because of political posturing. And the political posturing is based on a very silly idea that to win the next election, you must distance yourself from Mao, who has sold the party, who has now been captured by NRM. So this posturing is not actually for building DP. This posturing is for their so-called electorate. I find that kind of posturing to be very cheap. When you have a problem with the leadership of your party, the constitution of DP has enough room to deal with all the problems. So that answers the question of who will participate. Members in good standing who are on the national register. The rest, really, they are none of our business. What can we do? This is like you name. Unless you are registered, you can't show up. Even if you are the most brilliant, who can recite these other tough books we used to read, like BAKAS of mathematics, and so on. The examiner will say, sorry, you are not registered to sit. Because the requirement is not that you are brilliant or that you are prepared for the exam. The requirement is that you are registered to sit the exam. So that is the only test that you have to pass. The second question is, who will supervise this process? Now, the supervision happens hierarchically. I'll mention it. The NEC supervises the district supervises the constituency supervises the sub-county supervises the parishes or wards, the parishes supervise the villages and ourselves. That's the straight answer of who supervises who. Number 3, what if there are disputes? There are bound to be disputes. Like in any election, maybe you have been overcharged. Like in Kampala, Kampala was a cartel of thieves. People used to collect money, they don't declare it. Some of the Kampala leaders even used to demand sex. I'm about to start naming some of them. It was tragic. You want to contest for a position in the party leader says, let's meet in this hotel. And you think you are going to sit in the compound around the table to take a cup of tea. Then the person says, I've sent somebody to bring you where I am. Then somebody takes you to a hotel room. So you people do not know the amount of cleaning up we have had to do since we took charge of this party. Up to now, there are people who should be in jail for corruption among the Kampala leaders. If we only forgave them. We have so many cases of sexual harassment. Why do you think we passed the policy against sexual harassment in DP? Because it was so rampant. And the headquarters of corruption and sexual harassment was Kampala. And that crusade has continued. Now, at least, our young ladies are safe from the predators, who, if I'm provoked, I will start naming. So, to deal with those disputes, we have got mediation and arbitration mechanisms. By mediation, we bring trusted people to give us advice. Arbitration is where the party listens to both sides and then makes a decision. So those are the three general guidelines to avoid confusion. There should be no confusion about who is allowed to participate. It is not a general happiness. Just like I cannot go for hijab, and nobody mouth saying I'm also lining up to go for hijab because I can afford an air ticket to go to Mecca. That would be the joke. I'm just a tourist. So this process is not for political tourists and nomads. It is for members of DP in good standing. Fortunately, because I've been around here for some time, I now know the nomads and we know how to deal with them. Then supervision is hierarchical. And then where there's a dispute, we have a mechanism to resolve it. I would like to assure all the members of DP, and indeed the nation, that whatever is wrong with the DP can be fixed by whatever is right with the DP. There are so many things that are right with the DP. They can fix all the wrongs. Let me give you my own personal example on how a leader who is aggrieved can marshal political tools to see that they are listened to by party leaders. 2005, I showed up as a presidential candidate in Nambole. I was a candidate. I was beaten fairly and squarely, and I congratulated the winner. Then I saw the processes of election of other leaders, which was not done in accordance with the party constitution. It was basically a mob. Many of the people with whom we took charge of the party in 2010 were victims of Nambole. So what did I do? I did not address a press conference insulting anybody or abusing anybody's mother. Because one mark of a politician is that you must have a base, however small. And it is your base which fights. Now, I am from Gulu branch. So when the delegates conference now went into electing regional leaders, I addressed the meeting and I told them that, in my opinion, the National Executive Committee being elected as the demonstrated some of the worst characteristics in the politics of DP. I also said that the processes have not been democratic. For that reason, I proposed that we would not elect our regional representatives to join the NEC. We would remain loyal to the elected leaders, but we would demand that the new leaders should, as quickly as possible, come and meet us at our home in the north, so that we talk about our problems. Now, that's how a responsible leader behaves. You don't start shooting in all directions. Indeed, I even became the national campaign director for Sevana, who beat me. Those with whom he was elected, for instance, like the Deputy Secretary General, Dr. Baiga, was busy running around with Dr. Bessie while claiming to be DP. So that is the kind of political confusion this national leadership is determined to deal with. If you are working with any other political party, it must not be that you are now nominally here, but in reality, you are selling off the DP leaders. I then invited my current vice president from 2005, when the number election took place, up to 2008. That's when they came. We waited patiently, and we remained loyal to the leadership. So this is how to manage disputes in a political party. I respect somebody who uses political levers and internal mechanisms. In the case of DP, people go to court. They don't even write to tell you what they are disagreeing with. Others declare themselves to be president. You remember when Elias Lukwago held a parallel delegates conference in the West? Then they put flowers around his neck that now is the president of DP. It's like if I stand here and declare myself a pope, I think I could be a joke. Popes are elected by cardinals. So if the cardinals have not elected you, it is not the clothing which makes you a pope. Then Sam Lubega Mukaku, one of the most famous political nomads of the millennium, also declared himself DP president. Then last year, two others declared themselves president, Lulume and Sebaman. But these are supposed to be educated who know the party constitution. I can fight. I know how to fight, but fight seriously also. Don't just fight like a joker. I have given you an example of how we fought to reform the processes. So for the first time, as we went to Mbale, nominations of party leaders was done at party headquarters. Those of you who are elderly like Mzee Luanga will tell you that the Mbale election was the first election ever where people were nominated before they went to the delegates conference. That was a major reform for which we fought. There's actually enough room in DP to change how the party runs, provided you are serious. So we feel insulted when people who are not serious are confusing people. Our group was very serious, and it means that when you are serious, you tell each other the truth. I've always told you, for instance, my current vice president wanted to be vice president of the party in Bali. But we were going for a generational shift of leadership. We were moving from the generation, imagine The people who had been leading DP were people born in 1920s and 1930s. Now we jumped a generation. The person who would have been of the next generation was Haji Sebagala. That's the generation born in the 40s and 50s. I want you to get this clearly. From Engineer Kasolo to Matayo Mugwanya, Benedicto Siwanuka, Paul Kawanga Semogelele, and Sebana Kisito, that was one group born in the 20s and 30s. That was their year. Now the next generation was supposed to be those born in the 40s and 50s. And Sebagala was in that generation. But we knew that he was not the most suitable for the party at that time. And we had prepared president who wanted a generational shift. So I had the difficult task of inviting my vice president now, Honorable Mbide, to a very difficult meeting opposite Christ the King, 40s and 50s, to be in the position of second in command. And I proposed Honorable John Baptist Kawara. And also, at that time, my current vice president was also not qualified for that position constitutionally. But there could have been waivers and so on. But I think for me, the main argument was a political reason. Of course, he protested. And even his supporters came and attempted to disrupt the delegates' conference. They grabbed the microphone from Honorable Pole Bukip. They left him just with his hand. The microphone was gone. They attempted violence, but of course that doesn't work in DP. Because what if they had adjourned the delegates' conference? So eventually he became our national legal advisor, and I don't think there has been a national legal advisor who has performed better than him, defending the party in over 40 cases. So I'm elaborating this point that in DP, there is enough room to settle disputes without going into unnecessary conflict. And that is really the advice I would like to give to all those who are running around with all sorts of things. 2 days ago, I got a call from a journalist who was asking me that the party, that myself and Honorable Siranda, we sat in a committee of 2, and we have set outrageous nomination fees to lock out people from holding positions. We are daily begging people to come and lead this party. Why would we make money stand in their way? No such thing has happened. And in any case, fees are approved by the National Executive Committee. But there are people who sit every day, and you people are, of course, innocent conduits of their rumor mongering. So I see a lot of bogus things written on social media that now nomination for president of DP is 50 million and so on. What if even the Electoral Commission doesn't demand 50 million? For me, I will not pay 50 million. If the next say 50 million, I won't pay it. The position of president has a fee because it serves 2 purposes. Our party president is not only leader of the party, but is also our presidential candidate. So that is also primaries, unlike for the other positions. So I wish to stress to members of the media that please call the chief spokesperson of the party instead of spreading rumors, because I stopped respecting you, and I think you want me to respect you. And I'm still around in this country for long. In 10 years, I want to look you in your eye and say, what were you thinking when you were saying those kind of things? I want to respect you. Now we go to the details. every branch, right from the village to the district, will bring this kind of returns. 20 positions, and this is the authentic return with the original signature of the Secretary General. We thank God that he has a signature which is very difficult to forge. I don't know how he remembers it, but this will be the return for the village. And we will get it from every village in Uganda. This will be the return for the parish, from every parish in Uganda. And this will be the return for the sub-county. And this will be the return from the constituency. And finally, this will be the return from the district. And the district has got a total of 26 positions. It is these other new parties that are still struggling how to do things. We have been practicing internal democracy for the last 70 years. We are experts in it. In fact, we are consultants. So, but we are guided by the Constitution. So if the Constitution says you are not qualified for something, blame the Constitution, bring an amendment. Don't blame anybody. And trying to break the Constitution is an offense. That's why we punish defilement. If you purport to carry out functions of a husband and a wife on somebody below 18, you'll go to prison. And there's no other evidence which will be required. The only evidence is the one of age. You cannot say this one is really mature. You can't bring that kind of evidence. So let us draw a line between the negotiables and non-negotiables. The constitution of DP is non-negotiable. And whatever we have said here is in line with that. So now we go to the composition of those who elect the district leaders. It is called a district delegates conference. That is all members of the district executive committee, the constituency women leaders and their deputies, all constituency youth leaders and their deputies. That is the body, that's the electoral college for